And now, a reading with Jester. The Comprehensive Guide to Apologetics. General Editor Joseph M. Holden. Chapter 6, What is Truth? By Richard G. Howe. Pontius Pilate's question to Jesus, quote, "What is truth?" end quote, echoes louder today than ever before. Each of us has an expectation of truth-telling, especially concerning crucial information coming from our doctor, lawyer, spouse, clergy, business partners, government officials, and others. This expectation should not change when we approach spiritual matters that we have temporal and eternal significance. Due to the influences that bad philosophies and alternative religions have on our society, defending the faith now requires that we refresh ourselves and others on what it means for something to be true. Distinguishing theories of truth and tests for truth. To ask, quote, "What is truth?" end quote, is to address the issues of theories or models of truth and tests for truth. We will distinguish them here and reserve discussing tests for truth in the next chapter. How can we know truth? In distinction, how someone knows whether a statement is true is one's test for truth. To put it another way, a test for truth is how one discovers whether a statement is true. By contrast, a theory of truth is how one defines the terms true and truth. It is the difference between defining truth and discovering truth. Theories of truth. Correspondence theory of truth. Not all theories of truth are created equal. While there are several theories of truth that present themselves in our day, only the correspondence theory of truth is the way truth really is. This theory says that truth is correspondence to reality, which is to say a statement is true inasmuch as it aligns with or is in accord with what is actually the case. Thus, the statement, quote, "It is raining," end quote, would be a true statement if it is in fact raining in reality, and would be a false statement if it were in fact not raining in reality. Aristotle summarized it this way, quote, "To say of what it is that it is not, or of what it is not that it is false, while to say of what is that it is and of what is not that it is not is true," end quote. The statement, quote, "It is raining," end quote, can be qualified in a number of ways. It could be raining in one place and not raining in another. Further, it could be raining in one place right now and not raining in the same place sometime later. In fact, there are a number of ways a statement can correspond to reality. One can use literal language, allegory, metaphor, simile, analogy, symbols, hyperbole, phenomenal language, informal language, synecdoche, or metonymy. The key here is that the correspondence theory of truth does not say that a statement is true only when it corresponds to reality. It is true that, quote, "The eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth," end quote, 2 Chronicles 16:9, even though God does not literally have eyes. Pragmatic theory of truth. Other theories have adversely affected how some understand truth. These inadequate theories have sometimes hampered people's ability to grasp reality with what they say. One inadequate theory of truth that is increasing in popularity in our culture is the pragmatic theory of truth. The pragmatic theory says that a statement is true inasmuch as it works or is practical. The pragmatic theory gives rise to the notion that something can be, quote, "true for you but not true for me," end quote. The mistake of deciding by pragmatism what is true, or even godly, is as ancient as the Old Testament Israelites. When God, through the prophet Jeremiah, told the Israelites to stop their abominable practices of burning incense to the Queen of Heaven and pouring out drink offerings to her, their defense of their actions is telling. They said in response to Jeremiah, "We will do everything that we have vowed, make offerings to the Queen of Heaven, and pour out drink offerings to her, as we did, both we and our fathers, our kings and our officials, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then we had plenty of food and prospered, and saw no disaster. But since we left off making offerings to the Queen of Heaven and pouring out drink offerings to her, we have lacked everything and have been consumed by the sword and by famine." Jeremiah 44:17-18. Sadly, they made their decision regarding what was true about reality based on the immediate practical result that followed and not on what God had told them through his prophet. Clearly, such pragmatism is inadequate to connect us with the truth about reality. What is more, one cannot even define the pragmatic theory of truth without utilizing the correspondence theory. This is evident when one observes how the advocate of the pragmatic theory would defend his position. Namely, he would find it impossible to avoid saying what the pragmatic theory is, but in doing so he would be saying that his definition of the pragmatic theory corresponds to what the pragmatic theory is. Thus, he needs the correspondence theory of truth to define the pragmatic theory of truth. Functional theory of truth. Another theory of truth, sometimes encouraged in compromised views on the inerrancy of the Bible, is the functional theory of truth. The functional theory says that a statement is true inasmuch as it fulfills the purpose or function that is intended by the one making the statement. This is also known as the intentional theory of truth. It allows for a compromised view of biblical inerrancy, i.e., the Bible has no errors, by saying that a statement in the Bible might actually be false but nevertheless serves a certain purpose or function. This approach is what allowed Daniel Fuller to maintain that the Bible is, quote, true, end quote, even when, in his estimation, the Bible is wrong about, for example, the mustard seed. Although the mustard seed is not really the smallest of all seeds, yet Jesus referred to it as such because to have gone contrary to their mind on what was the smallest seed would have so diverted their attention from the knowledge that would bring salvation to their souls that they might well have failed to hear these all-important revelational truths. Thus, for Fuller, because the Bible's truth lies in its purpose or intention, it can seemingly get the facts wrong and still fulfill that purpose or intention. One problem with this is that Fuller's claim that the, quote, mustard seed is not really the smallest of all seeds, end quote, only makes sense with the correspondence theory of truth. But with this tacit acknowledgement of the correspondence theory, there is no need to employ a different theory of truth to exonerate the Bible as being true or authoritative while stating factual errors. In contrast to the functional or intentional theory of truth, the correspondence theory of truth rightly recognizes that the Bible is true in everything it affirms or teaches precisely because the Bible tells us what really is the case. When we defend Christianity as being true, we want to make sure that our hearers understand that we mean that Christianity corresponds to reality. End of chapter 6. Thank you for joining us today, folks! We hope you enjoyed the reading of the Comprehensive Guide to Apologetics, Chapter 6. And do please be well on your journey.